Welcome back, Truth Seeker. August 29th, 2019, a Thursday. It's reported that there was a 6.3 magnitude earthquake off the coast of southern Oregon today. And I want to show you what stands out about this date and this magnitude. Notice when you write out 6.3, it sums to 74, like Oregon. And remember what happened on July 4th this year. Big earthquake in Southern California. All the media started to say, get ready for the big one. And we had Warren Buffett at the beginning of the year predict that there'll be a mega catastrophe in this fiscal year. Don't forget that in Gematria, Independence Day sums to 74 like holiday. Again, 7-4, the nation's Independence Day. Don't forget that that earthquake on July 4th was on a military base, energy, nuclear weapon. They all sum to 74. The United States of America, for decades, detonated bombs underground, reportedly atomic and nuclear, for testing purposes. From July 4th to today, the earthquake, August 29th, is 56 days later. And the reason that matters is because they're saying it happened off the coast of Bandon, Oregon, which equals 56. And also interesting, August 29th is the day leaving 124 days left in the year. Bandon, Oregon is also 124. They said it happened at 11:07 a.m. Eastern Time. It's interesting they report it that way. What stands out to me about that time is the 107 in the sequence. Remember, earthquake equals 107, so does Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire's what goes around the Pacific, which goes along the west coast of the United States, which is the area of the world that has more earthquakes than any other. Earthquake, Ring of Fire, military, they're all 107. If you've never seen my work on the 1989 World Series earthquake, had everything to do with 107. Talked about that on July 4th if you want to go back and revisit those videos. I have a book about it. What else is interesting is the Pacific Northwest, which is what I talked about after July 4th. I said, the Pacific Northwest, they've said for decades, is going to experience the biggest earthquake in recorded history in the time of cities and skyrise buildings. Sits on a deadly fault line. And what's interesting is the Seattle area had an earthquake on July 12th, and then Oregon had an earthquake today, August 29th. Those earthquakes are 49 days apart, and August 29th, 2019 was a date with a life lesson number of 49. The media has been saying, get ready for the big one. The big one's 49. Washington's also 49. Washington State, where Seattle is. Today's earthquake in Oregon, Pacific Northwest. With regards to earthquake in 107, notice Seattle's also 107. Seattle is the more likely city between Seattle and Portland to get the devastating earthquake that's been forecast from decades. Seattle, if you don't know, also is ranked as one of the 30 most dangerous cities to live in the world because of that fault line and because of Mount Rainier, which is just outside of Seattle. Seattle is built on the lava flows of the last time Rainier erupted. Rainier is one of the largest mountains in the world and is an active volcano. Anyhow, Seattle sums to 107 and 44. Earthquake 107 and 44. Same with military. Portland's also 44, as is Rip City. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people who would love to see a massive earthquake in Seattle because what's known as Pioneer Square, the oldest part of Seattle, it's old brick buildings, and a lot of people want to tear down Pioneer Square and build new skyrise buildings there. It's close to the football stadium. And certainly a big earthquake would wipe out all of Pioneer Square and would leave a whole brand new area for real estate development. So you got to understand, you live in a world controlled by bankers who have the keys to the ignition on the military machines, and they love disasters because every time there's a big disaster, Our government goes to these private bankers and gets loans, which we, the taxpayers, pay the interest and debt on, while they make the big profits. Disaster capitalism. So, everything's lined up a little bit too nicely there between these two Pacific Northwest earthquakes since the July 4th earthquake, where the media's told us to get ready for the big one. And I'd like to go back to February 23rd of this year when Warren Buffett said there will be a mega catastrophe and we should prepare for it. You know, how does this banker know about this great big disaster coming? He put this out on February 23rd, 2/23, Natural Disasters 223. When he was said to get ready for the big one, I thought, what would be like the most perfect day for the big one if they're going to do it by the numbers? And it doesn't mean it'll happen this day, but it was my first thought was October 7th, because it's 10/7, like 107. Again, like how earthquakes 107, Ring of Fires 107, militaries 107. The 1989 World Series earthquake, again, had everything to do with 107. October 7th is also the day leaving 85 days left in the year, and the big one, just using the alphabetic order, simple as it gets, is 85. So what a day for the big one if it happened. And then the weirdest thing is, from the day that Warren Buffett put out his prediction to October 7th is 226 days later, and in Jewish Gematria, the big one is 226. You know? So, just wanted to document that. And, you know, I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not sweating it out, but I do recognize what kind of world I live in, so just putting it out there. Until next time.